Russia's cruel campaign of violence and aggression has earned it the right to be among the pariah club of state sponsors of terrorism. That is a direct quote of a Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal. On June the 20th, Republican and Democratic senators introduced a bipartisan bill to designate the Russian Federation as a state sponsor of terrorism.
Putin's unprovoked invasion has involved countless atrocities and crimes against humanity, inflicting terror and deaths on thousands of innocent civilians. He has repeatedly shown reliance on torture and murder. Designating Russia as state sponsor of terrorism will allow the United States to more aggressively combat Putin's savagery, as well as his threat to freedom and democracy. Richard Blumenthal, United States Senator, Democrat politician, in his statement to the US Senate on June 20, 2024.
The proposed bill will not only officially assign Russia the title of state sponsor of terrorism, but will also have secondary effects, including for those countries that cooperate with it. It would also expand the list of prohibited dual-use goods and open up the possibility of lawsuits and other civil claims from victims of Moscow-sponsored terrorism.
Most importantly, this designation would dramatically increase the tools available to the United States to punish Putin for his barbaric behavior in Ukraine and his disruptive behavior throughout Africa and the world at large. Putin's Russia is a state sponsor of terrorism, and it's long past time to make it official under US law. Lindsey Graham, United States Senator, Republican politician, in his statement to the US Senate on June 20, 2024.
This is not the first attempt by the United States to designate Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism. A similar bill has already been submitted to the US Parliament in 2022. According to experts, the second attempt is related to the Strategic Partnership Agreement between North Korea and Russia, which was signed during Putin's two-day visit to Pyongyang. The New York Times called the agreement a renewal of Cold War-era security guarantees that go back to the now-defunct 1961 Mutual Defense Treaty between Pyongyang and Moscow.
Indeed, this situation is associated with the deepening of cooperation between the Russian Federation and North Korea, has set the internal discourse in the United States in a context of what to do next. Firstly, destabilization of the situation and even greater tension between South and North Korea will be observed, because North Korea, due to this visit, deepening cooperation with the Federation, is increasing attention to itself. Previously, they managed to do this with the help of tested missiles of different types and ranges, but now, amid the fact that Russia needs to replenish its reserves, unfortunately, it continues this war. So North Korea understands that it can now receive certain bonuses for itself with the help of such cooperation.
The signed agreement will enable Moscow to receive ammunition, and Pyongyang in turn will receive military technologies that will make it possible to realize Kim Jong-un's ambition to expand and improve his nuclear arsenal.
We need to be aware of that authoritarian powers are aligning more and more, and they are supporting each other in a way we haven't seen before. So again, the answer is that when they are more and more aligned, authoritarian regimes like North Korea, China, Iran, Russia, then it's even more important that we are aligned as countries believing in freedom and democracy. So NATO is in that way even more important now than before.
Today, the question of recognizing Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism is more and more actively discussed in the United States, and the likelihood of the adoption of a corresponding bill after the European Parliament is becoming more and more realistic. Let us recall that in November 2022, the European Parliament adopted a resolution recognizing Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism.
While waging war against Ukraine, the Russian military has intensified attacks on civilian targets, including energy infrastructure, hospitals, medical facilities, schools and shelters, in violation of international law and international humanitarian law. By declaring Russia a state sponsor of terrorism, MEPs want to pave the way for Putin and his government to be held accountable for these crimes before an international tribunal, from a publication on the website of the European Parliament.
The first country to officially declare Russia a state sponsor of terrorism was Lithuania, May 10, 2022. Later in the same 2022, a similar statement was made by Latvia, Estonia, the Czech Republic, the Netherlands, Poland, and in February 2023, Slovakia, as well as the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, the NATO Parliamentary Assembly, and the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. Reported by Diana Kolesnik, Yulia Granovska, UATV News.